I am working through the consequences section of my plan, and it reminds me of issues I had during last year. I have used most of the consequences suggested, but what do you do when a student doesn't respond appropriately? For example, if I have them redo work that they didn't do right, or have them finish work they didn't complete during a time everyone else gets to have fun, what if they refuse? I had a few kiddos last year that I just couldn't get to listen no matter what. And this is in first grade. Jonathan, you want to take a first stab at this one?
Back to that commiserating. Yep. Okay. Um, for me, and this is a challenge that God's constantly working on with me, is to not take it personally, not let it get under my skin, and not like I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated by this, but so they don't do it correctly the first time. You reteach the expectation, maybe give a model of this is the quality that is acceptable, and then they totally mail it in and they do nothing, or they do a slop job again. And for me, and maybe this isn't yours, but it can feel like a personal attack almost, or take that, Mr. Jones. And it's hard not to let that get under your skin. So I have varying success with that. I will say, the more I do let that get under my skin, and the more that the student is aware of it, the more I have just ceded power to that student. So if they don't do it right, and you reteach and they give it back to you slop again, as calm as I can. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for trying again. But does this one look like this one? No, it doesn't. Okay. So we're going to go for this again, and good luck. And if you, is there anything that was confusing about this? No, not really. Okay. If you're not confused, then this is what I expect. Oh, you were confused on that? Oh, let me clear that up. Cool. You're not confused anymore? This is what I expect. All right, go for it, bud. Yeah, I know you're ticked off. I know for me, when I talk about these knuckleheads, who I love to call my knuckleheads, I always use Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, because he's the kid who's going to try and get away with it. So keeping yourself calm, I think that really helps, at least for me. Linda?
Yeah, no, I love that because that what you're doing there is you're avoiding a power struggle where you're just like, you will do it, but yet you're not backing down, right? You're like not like, oh well, you didn't do it. What am I gonna do? Like you're not you're avoiding both of those issues and you're just kindly, firmly insisting, yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it. And maybe you can think through like sometimes it's helpful to if there's something where it's just like, okay, maybe now is not a good time, like maybe this is not going to work out now, but you can ask yourself, well, what is not going to happen until this gets done? You know what I mean? Like if that makes sense. Like maybe we are going to put pause on this and we're going to move on. But
Mhm.
like this is a silly example, but with my kids, sometimes it's just like they really don't want to eat their dinner. And sometimes you're just like, eat the dinner. Other times you're like, maybe they really aren't feeling good. And you might just be like, okay, but this is the next thing you're going to eat. Like, you're not going to have dessert or like, so kind of thinking through that ahead of time. Like, is there something where, okay, they didn't do it during Fun Friday. Okay. Like, well, I hope you can join us. I hope you get this done by the next Fun Friday. Or just kind of thinking like, what are they not getting to do until this happens? Or like, what is that, if that makes
Mhm.
sense?
Totally. Um, Reminds me of a mentor of mine on a personal level. They talked about when confronting a challenging situation, keeping these things in mind. And I'm I'm going to admit that I don't remember all of them, but talking to the right person at the right time, in the right spirit, with the right
Mhm.
goal, um, those kinds of things. And I love what Linda was saying. Like, pick your battles and time your battles. If they have used up all their buffer and they're in full frustration mode, uh, again, calm, acknowledging, I can tell you're really upset, bud. Now, that doesn't mean this is going away, but right now, it didn't happen today. Okay, we'll check in on this next week. And I might not even go through all the, because you refused, now you're out of it. I may not reiterate that in that moment, but we'll loop back to it. The other thing is to keep in mind, a kid who does this for too long, they can get themselves buried under a mountain of work. And now it feels like there is no climbing out of this hole. And if
Yeah.
we hold them to that, they're probably right, given where they're at, that they can't actually catch up on all of that. And so balancing that grace and truth of, hey, dude or gal, you got yourself in here. This is what I'm going to offer you. And this is grace. Like, you should do all of this. But do you think, would it be okay, or maybe not be okay, but talk to them like, hey, you have 15 things missing. Do you want to do 3 or 4 of them? I'm going to let you off the hook. You brought in choice theory, which I love. you've given them three or four, two things that you're okay with, whether they do three or four, and you're trying to get them back on track. It's not, I'm going to force you to do it. It's, I want to train you as a student, as a learner. And if you're just buried under that mountain, we may never get there. But if we can take a bunch of that history away and give you a chance to get back on track, that's a win.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things I would just say is if you're having a student like consistently refusing, that might be a point to like escalate in the way of like pulling in an administrator, pulling in any guidance counselors you have, talking to parents, like, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't, if this is happening like a one-off or, you know, an occasional thing that you're working through, but if it's really becoming a pattern, definitely don't feel like you need to do it just on your own. Pull in those outside people too.